This is Pastor Tim coming to you again from Bend and Lomita United Methodist Churches here in the Central Texas area. Glad that you joined us. Hope you will join us on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. We broadcast live our worship service. We were talking about people of the Bible, about how their stories impact us. And we're going to talk a little bit about Sampson. Sampson is a character in the Bible that's known for great strength, but there's a lot more going on than that. Samson's mother, before he was ever born or ever conceived, she was asking for a child because your children were your inheritance. Your children were the Social Security for you when you could no longer work or provide for yourself. Your children did that. Your children were your protection. Your children were your gift to the world and the continuation of your name. So they were very important in that day and time. So she prayed and promised God that among other things, that Sampson would never drink alcohol and that she would never cut his hair. And that began the long story because Sampson grew up and his hair grew long. What we didn't know that she didn't know at the time is that his strength would be in his hair, that it was the long hair that gave him the abilities that he had. And as he grew up, he was considered, he's put in among the group that's called judges. It's not that he was a judge, that the judge in that day and time was kind of like the county judge who ran the small areas, the community. He didn't actually run the community, but he thought he did because he was a kind of a little bit of a bully, a little bit of egotist, and he would do battle and most of the time win, and all the time win. He decided to be spiteful to his parents, and he married a non-Jewish woman, one that they objected to, Delilah. And Delilah is in league with the Philistines because they want to know the secret of his strength because they can't defeat him in battle. They want to find out something, and so he somehow knows that that's what she's trying to do, and so he leads her on. He tells her things that aren't actually true, and they try different ways to try to neutralize his strength. And finally, one day he tells her that his strength is in his hair, and they do manage to cut his hair off and imprison him because he'd lost all his strength. Now, what they did was they poked his eyes out so he could no longer see, and then enslaved him and made him do heavy labor. And one thing that did is give time for his hair to grow back. And so they were bringing him in to make fun of him once again in a courtyard with a building with lots of people in it, Philistines. And he leans against the pillar and he's gotten his strength back, so he pushes the pillars and kills himself, but he kills all the Philistines. And so he's considered something of a hero, but he's really a reformed hero because he was really selfish and brutal until he figured out that where his strength was in God, and it was that he had something larger than his own life to live for, and so that's why he's put into the Bible as a story. Sometimes we can learn from people who not only are heroic, but people who make mistakes. People are very human. The Bible is very human about who we are and who those folks were. None of them wore halos. All of them were a mixture of good and bad, of the things that are of God and things that were not of God. And so God seems to use even their weaknesses, even their inadequacies, even their flaws in their character, to do the purposes of God. And so Samson's kind of an idea of strength that goes misused until he's humbled and comes to himself. So that's why he's a hero in the scriptures. And maybe we can see a little bit of ourselves, our own strength that we depend upon too much, until we realize that it's God who gives us the strength and the wisdom to live each day. I think that's a good lesson. So I'll see you next time.